What is up guys, Wraec is here with a new video, and today we tested Ludovic, the new hero in the Graveborn faction. He is actually a pretty desired hero. He was desired by the community for quite some time because people wanted a healer for the Graveborn faction, and this is what we have right now, S-tier healer to the Graveborn faction. Quite an interesting hero, if I may say so. We tested him for about now an hour on the live stream, did different things with him, PvP, PvE, all of that good stuff. So this is like a well-educated first impression video, I would call it. Like about an hour into the testing, we'll do more testing within the week, doing different game modes. We couldn't test him yet in Legend Trial, which is quite sad. We couldn't because the Graveborn was actually yesterday. Today we have Lightbearer and Mauler, which is not what we're looking for. Endurance Trial also not possible yet because, well, he's not a buffed hero there right now. But we'll see where he is. We tested him extensively in Arena, extensively in PvE, so there we got a pretty good impression of what he can do. And what is this hero now? What can he do? Well, he is by his heart a healer, providing massive heals to his teams through a flower field. And this flower field gets nourished by multiple of his skills. It has to be nourished through his abilities and then will provide massive heals to the hero standing on it. It is pretty small. We can watch that in a fight that I recorded, or that is recorded by the game. And there you can clearly see how small it really is. It is a loss that we have here. That's no problem at all. You can see pretty decent here right there compared to the enemy Damien. And keep a look at the feed of our Ludovic. There you can actually see the flower field and the heroes that stand on the tile where the flower field is focused on, and the one next to it get pretty good heals. You can see how nice they survive. Now this iron moves from the flower field, and you can see, yeah, doesn't really survive very long there, losing a ton of HP. The flower field not really moved properly to his position where he moves a little bit more. It actually isn't where it's supposed to be, which would be under his feet, and at the same time we lose our Carolina in the back. And Ludovic actually only moves this flower field with two of his abilities, which I say only is quite a lot. It's his ult and it's another one of his abilities. Every 5 seconds he can basically move it through that, and on top of that with his ult, and that enables him to actually heal our heroes. This is quite interesting in a way that he heals those heroes that stand on there by quite a ton. But without his ult, that is a really limited area. His ult, on the other hand, has some extra healing waves in there which restore HP of allies in a greater range. So his ult is really a bit of a saving grace on that. The healing field, the flower field, often feels a little bit too limited. We had a very nice example right now of a Carolina standing like too far away, and then at the same time wants to heal an iron. If we have heroes that are kind of split apart, he really struggles to heal. There is a hero though with which he has a bit of synergy, and maybe we'll see some teams there. I want to keep this option open, and that is really Talene. Talene doesn't move too much, loses a ton of HP, and really that plays a bit into his cards, because he really likes a hero that stands in one place and loses a ton of HP, because he will keep his field right under her, and we can watch a fight where this actually happens. So here we have a team that I made. Well, I didn't make it. Actually took it, but it's okay. So this is the team. Talene in there, we have Hewen in there, basically a double hero with some DR, bit of survivability, Thorin in there to just tank a little bit, and Scalita to also provide some shields. And what we'll see is that we have this super nice initial heal, which is really a great ability of his. He pretty much starts healing from the beginning of the fight, while Hewen is basically still trying to charge her ult. He's already providing heals to our team and keeping them alive, really, which in case of Talene isn't really too important, but for the rest of the team very, very helpful. And it is at the same time a blessing for the rest of the team, at the other hand of course, because he really doesn't move to his field himself. We see him standing outside of the range of his own healing field for long parts of the fight. And that in some situations can end in his demise, which is a bit of a problem. If you would kind of try to follow his field, he probably would have an easier time there. We saw him in one fight actually just getting killed by those Damien shocks, those Damien lightnings, and this is of course kind of unfortunate and something we don't really want to see. Kind of tends to happen to him sometimes because he's, well, a bit to the side, doesn't like to move. He's pretty lazy, a bit like Smokey in that sense. But in terms of initial heal, kind of interesting. So in PvE we tried him out, and the problem is really in PvE he has to compete with Hewen. And Hewen is just the stronger healer, not in terms of the healing amount. The healing amount of Ludovic is actually quite insane. It's probably one of the healers with the biggest healing amount overall in a fight. If you let him run in there, he can provide you with some heals. But what Hewen can do is like do stuff beyond that. Revitalize, removing debuffs, extra healing, healing over a long period of time through a healing rain, dispel debuffs, we had all of that stuff, dispel control effects. So this is like really, she does a lot more than that, and she has this damage reduction, and the damage reduction is a really very valuable asset to stay alive in PvE. So he really couldn't give us enough of a reason there to use him in PvE instead of Hewen. Hewen also, if we check out the team in just the AFK progress, we don't really need to go too much in depth there, just take a look at the records. What we see here is like a classic comp. We see 4Cs in there, Presto, not 4Cs, 4Cs is from another game. Hewen, we have Iron, we have Smokey, we have Roan, and the team uses the formation, a faction bonus, of course, from the Wilder team, meaning we have one hero there from Wilder, we have another hero there from Wilder, and then we have Presto, which is of course also counting for the Wilder buff. If we were to remove Hewen now, replace her with our Ludovic, we would actually lose our entire faction bonus. So if we want to use the team with Roan, if we want to use the team with Iron, then using a Graveborn unit in there really isn't too beneficial. It will take our faction bonus away. We could use a Wilder unit, would be possible. We could use a Lightbearer unit, but the Graveborn unit is really kind of disastrous for this team. So in that situation we lose out on a lot of stats, and that isn't too great for our tanks, for our Frestos, because they kind of need those stats. So really didn't do too well in there and wasn't really better than Hewen on top of that, so kind of quickly switched back to Hewen, and we tried to make this work, really just was worse. In the best case the heroes survived, and there really wasn't much beyond that. And yeah, that's really the thing. We can watch a fight though, we can watch a fight maybe with this team. Let's see our new Graveborn hero Ludovic in a bit of PvE. I won't target it, so we probably use it. It's more about showing you guys the field, what it can do, and let's show you guys how it moves around the battlefield. In PvE, of course, he has a bit of an easier time surviving because the incoming damage is mitigated a lot by 4Cs taking it, by us having like 3 healers essentially on the board. And that makes it a little bit easier for him, even though sometimes, of course, especially against those enemies, those riders from the season, which is a bit horrible, those guys are pretty mean. He also can have a tough time. We saw him go below 50% HP there one time. Might even win this actually, despite our Smokey not being in an optimal position, but then again we're not fighting at a huge deficit. So damage wise, maybe we can talk about this. There is the +10 that should offer some damage. I first thought it would be kind of decent, then we tried a bit more PvP and really didn't make too much of a difference. So in terms of upgrading his mythic weapon, I see him more at a +5, maybe at a +8 there. Damage really isn't his thing, got out damaged by Rowan there. Healing amount was there, we had Smokey still with higher healing though in this situation. It changes from fight to fight. Oftentimes he can actually out-heal Smokey. Is he now of a big use? Is he like the hero you want to summon? I kind of don't see him there. Like, we have a lot of Graveborn heroes that are pretty good. We have Carolina in there, we have Thorin in there. Carolina really one of the heroes in Graveborn you really want to go for. Thorin probably also very nice for that. We have Igor, which is pretty good in terms of S-tier heroes, because he is an S-tier, of course. Cessia, I used her for a long time, especially before this season. Fell a bit off now, but I think maybe if Smokey is fixed at one point, she will be back. But I don't really see him being back. I see him mostly being replaced by Hewen in PvE, maybe by Damien in PvP. Damien is just a bit more consistent with the range of his heals, and we have the haste buff there as well, which is a point where he really struggles a bit because we won't really find buffs in his set, which kind of is a bit of a problem. The only buff that we have, and that is a good one, we should mention that, is the seasonal buff, which is one of the best abilities, if not the best ability in this season. Every 5 seconds increases the attack by 13% and haste by 11 for 3 seconds for the ally who has dealt the most damage and has a HP ratio of above 75%. And mostly he will buff your main damage dealer actually by quite a lot within this season. After this season we don't know what happens. Then he will just have, well, basically his stats before, which only really includes his regular heals. So, is he a must-summon hero from rate up? By no means. Maybe even less so than Ulmus, in my opinion. Is he a hero you will eventually want to go for? Probably you will at one point want him to just have a healer for the Graveborn faction, to just have this option for Legend Trial to make pushing there a little bit easier. But that, I think, has time. I think he's in no free-to-play or early game plan for any means, for any point. But he might be in some late game or end game situations. Maybe with Talene, I saw some good results there. Maybe with some new Graveborn teams, maybe with some heroes we're still yet to see. But right now, should you summon a rate up for Ludovic? The answer, in my opinion, is no. So, let me tell me down in the comments what you think about Ludovic. Until then, I wish you a great day, make sure you subscribe to the channel, and we'll see us in the next one.